it is Jackie from Pocket of Preschool. I'm super excited you're here with me on this wonderful Wednesday night. So tonight we are talking all about how to make parent-teacher conferences less stressful for you and great, amazing things for families. So I don't know about you, but parent-teacher conferences, I have a love-hate relationship with them. I love them because I love sharing with families how amazing everyone is doing. And on the other hand, they're super stressful because there's so much prep and it's kind of scary, right? You're alone in a room with a parent and you don't know how they're going to react to the information you're going to give them. So they can be kind of stressful. I'm just basically tonight going to share with you all the ways and all my tricks that I've learned over the years. I've been teaching this is my 12th year teaching, which is super exciting. So I have some things down pat and some things are still like new that I'm trying out. So the first thing, my biggest trick for parent-teacher conferences is have water. Make sure you have water with you in right here with you. Like if you're talking all night to all these parents and maybe you need like a pause or you need a break or you need a moment to think, taking a drink of water is great because you can take a drink of water and you don't have to tell them you need a minute. And your throat gets dry. Like I had parent-teacher conferences tonight and I talked everybody's ear off. Another thing is, it depends on how many you have in a row, but when I taught full day in public school, I had like 10 or 12 20-minute conferences in a row. So I didn't really get a dinner or a break, much less a potty break. So I kept a jar of like trail mix next to me. So in between conferences, I could snack on some trail mix just to keep my energy up, to keep me going all night long. So water and snacks, two of the most important things to keep you going. The other thing is I learned this a couple of years ago, is to set up a little spot for little brothers and sisters, like kind of like a sibling table. And I did this today and it worked out great. I had a set of twins with me and they played with just some toys I had next to me on the table. I had a little table set up next to our big teacher table, our parent-teacher conference desk that we were at, and they just played there the whole time and it was great. They didn't interrupt. I mean, they did a little bit, but they were just so cute. Like, how do you not love them? So yeah, they just played with the toys. I just had Legos and some Melissa and Doug cars on the table and they were good to go. So water, snacks, and a table or a little, like you can put a blanket on the floor and just a little spot for little brothers and sisters. And then chairs. Make sure you have enough chairs for the adults. Like if you have a divorced family, is everybody coming? Like I always like to have about like 3 or 4 chairs extra. That way I'm not like searching around for a chair, because that one will make you run late, and once you run late, I don't know about you, but once I run late, like I run super late the entire night. Like I just can't keep back on the ball. I can't get back on track. So yeah, so get extra chairs in there. And I know if I have one parent, I try to sit on the same side of the table as them. If there's 2 parents, I don't like to sit across from them if I don't have to. I like to kind of sit like in an L. So that way, if we're talking about something that's a little tense, it's not so confrontational where you're across the table from them. Just a trick I've learned over the years. And then one other thing, to run on time, I didn't do this today, which is probably why I ran a little late, I forgot, is to set your alarm on your phone. I know some schools like come over the intercoms if you're doing it school-wide, and they'll say, this conference is over, moving to the next. If you set an alarm on your phone for every 15 or 20 minutes, however long your conference is, that way they know like their time is up and it's somebody else's turn, and you're not having to say anything like, oh, time's up, nobody's knocking on your door. It's just a really easy way to be like, oh, just so you know, when the alarm goes off, that means our conference is over. And usually if you set it a couple minutes before the conference is over, that'll give you a little bit of wiggle room to finish the thought you were on and to move to the next one. And then, so that's the actual like setup of the conference and just kind of during. The other thing I do, I know I have moved to online signups for my parents this year, and I use Genius or Genius, I can't remember what it is. It's free. The parents sign up and they get sent like a reminder. I do send a paper reminder out as well, in addition to the one they get from the little website or the app or whatever. But it's great. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to sign up because I don't see all my parents every morning, so that way everybody kind of gets a fair shot at all the times. And then, so sign-ups and setup. And then, so I'll go ahead and get started on the actual, like, stuff of the conference. So every parent, and I always make sure I have enough for divorced families too, or maybe grandma, grandma watches the child some of the time, so have handouts for whoever is coming for the child. I have these handouts in my TPT store. So there's reading and writing, and then math, letters, and then fine motor, and then just some Play-Doh and goop recipes. So I have found that that these I just send home, and I send them home on bright paper, and they're all double-sided, and they're just tons of fun ways to read and write and do math, all those fun things that you want them to do at home and learn with their child. But it's not a worksheet. They're not flashcards. So you're teaching them how to use play to teach their child. So on the reading one, it talks about setting up a a reading nook in your house. In the writing one, it says how to make a writing basket. And on the math one, it's just fun things to remember. And then at the back, it has fun, hands-on things that they already have at their house that they can use to do math with their kiddo. And then letters, there's some apps on that one. It's talking about how to learn letters in the bathtub. It doesn't have to be a worksheet. So we want parents to know that learning can be fun, and you can do it super easy at home just by when you're setting the table. Have your kiddo set the table and tell them you need 4 forks because you have 4 people in your family and they're counting while they're setting the table. And Caitlin says, do I have these in Spanish? And yes, these are in Spanish. They're coming in French too. I have them translated. I haven't had time to format them. So yeah, so these are in my TPT store, and they're in English and in Spanish. So woohoo on that one. So yeah, so I give those to every family, and I just copy them on Astro Bright paper. That way they hopefully don't get lost as easily at home if they're on some bright colored paper. So at the actual parent-teacher conference, what I do is I always start off with something amazing about their child that I love, because I want them to know that I really care about their child and I'm here with the best of intentions, especially if it's a tense situation, possibly, maybe you're talking about a behavior, or maybe you're going to have to bring up some concerns or something, or maybe, just who knows, there's some family dynamics going on that are going to come up in the conference. So always start on the positive. Tell them how much you love their child, give them specific feedback. I love the way your child has a kind heart. They are the first ones to go give someone a hug when they're sad. So give them very specific feedback about their child. And that tells them too that you really know their kid and you truly care about them. They're not just saying, oh, he's just a great writer, or oh, he knows all his letters, ooh, he's so great. You're giving them specific feedback, and that will just melt a parent's heart. I know when I hear my kiddos' teachers talk about my kids and they give me very specific things, it just makes my heart happy to know that they see all the great things in my child that I see in them. Because these kiddos, they're their babies. They're their pride and joy. That some of them, that's all they have, right? They may not have a big family. That's all they have is their kiddo. Or maybe they do have a big family, but they're still their child's world, right? Make sure you start on a positive note. And then listen. They will tell you a lot if you just sit and listen. Sometimes maybe you'll bring up, you're a little nervous because you have to bring up a concern. But if you're listening, maybe that parent has the same concern you have, and they might even bring it up first. And how great is that if they bring it up first, And you don't have to. And you can be like, you know what, I noticed that too. And then don't do any huge surprises at a conference. If a kiddo is having a behavior problem, don't let this be the first time you're telling that parent about it during the conference. Like, you want to leave breadcrumbs is what I call it. So you want to tell them little snippets. That way when you get to the conference, maybe you have a concern, like a development concern, or maybe you have a behavior concern that's not big enough to where you need to address it before the conference, but it's still a concern of yours. So leave little breadcrumbs. Say, you know what, so-and-so, this happened at school today, just wanted to let you know at pickup, or talk to them at drop-off about it. But don't give them any huge surprises like, you know, I'm really concerned about their fine motor. They can't write anything. They can't write their name. You know, don't give them any big surprises. Have honest conversations with your families from the first day, or emails, or call them on the phone, whatever you have to do to have those honest conversations with them, and leave those breadcrumbs if you do have concerns, or if you're going to have hard conversations. That way they're not shocked and surprised and blown away with it. Because if you're telling them something about their child that's either a concern, a development concern, or a behavior concern, their first response is going to be defense. Like, oh no, I'm sure it's not that bad. Like, oh, I didn't do it. You know, like, they're going to go on the defense. They're not going to have their ears open. They're just going to be on defense mode. They're not going to be able to hear what you actually have to say. So, yeah. So when I do my parent-teacher conferences, Jennifer says it's a good idea to show them some of their work. And that's exactly what I do. So I start my conference off and I say something amazing about their child. I give them something very specific about their child. And then I give them the parent handouts so I don't forget, because sometimes I do. And then I go over their child's portfolio with them. And I have a whole live video on my portfolio and assessment pack if you guys want to watch that later too, if you want to find out more about it. But in here, in the first page, and this is, I have permission to use this, kiddos, because this is my little guy. I have a little, my little man is in my class. So in the pocket, the first pocket, I have, their progress report. Let me back up so you can kind of see it. There we go. So it's their progress report. So it has letters, it has writing level, it has rhymes, it has syllables, it has all kinds of different things, different skills. And it's all on 1 to 2 sides. And then on the back, so on the front is literacy and math, and then on the back I have fine motor, social, and then gross motor at the bottom. And these sheets are in my assessment pack, in the bundle pack, portfolio and assessment pack. I usually do 20 minutes. I tried to do 15 this year, and it just wasn't enough time. I'm going to go back to 20 minutes again. You can always try it, and if you have extra time in between, then, you know, that's okay too. Try it and just see what works. Melissa says hers are 15 minutes. I think pretty much on average, everybody has 15 to 20 minutes. So yeah, so I give everybody this sheet. It's kind of like their skills at a glance. And I actually don't go over this. I say, you know what? I'm going to go over all of this information with you in here. And I literally go through their portfolio. Oh, and I make a copy for me to keep too. A front and back copy of this. That way, when they take this home, I still have one. So I have my portfolio divided up in the learning area. So I have like literacy, math, fine motor, gross motor in here. Do you guys mind? I think I'm just gonna go through it kind of like to just kind of give you like an example of what I do. So I'll be like, okay, here's the literacy section of our portfolio, and here's their letters. So the letters I marked, they know. And then the letters I didn't mark, they didn't know. And if I marked a letter in the corner, that was their guess. So he didn't know any letters in August. And now, in October, he knows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He knows 6 letters now. So by doing this, I can show growth, which the parents are excited about. And if they're like, if you're just showing this, that way you're showing growth. So you can be like, well, here's where they started. They didn't know any letters, and then now they know 6 letters. So even if you just told a parent, oh, he only knows 6 letters, they may not be very happy with that. You can be, which, you know what, for a 3-year-old knowing 6 letters, that's awesome. Like at the beginning of the year, like I think that's great. I don't expect my 3-year-olds to know all their letters at all. I expect them to know the letters in their name. Hopefully by December would be great. That's usually my goal, for them to learn their letters in their name around December, and then we work on the other ones. But that way you're showing growth. You're not like, well, they only know 6 letters. That doesn't seem like a lot considering there's 26 letters, right? But if you're telling them they didn't know any and now they know 6, you're showing them growth. So you're showing them that they have learned at school, and it's just, they get really excited to see like how far they've come in such a short amount of time. I sometimes call it an onion sandwich. I give them a compliment, and then I put the tricky stuff in the middle, and then I give them another compliment. So the 3 stars and a wish is something you could put like on a handout. Like you could, if you weren't gonna do like a progress report or something, or maybe the progress report is really rough, like maybe they don't know very much, or maybe they're behind, you might want to just write up a page that has their strengths on it, so you know that, so that parent knows that their child is good at something. Because if you just tell them all the things that is horrible about their child, they're gonna walk out of there depressed and sad, and that's their baby, you know? Like, don't tell them that their baby's horrible, because 1, that's not going to create a good relationship for you guys, and 2, they're not going to trust you anymore, and once you lose that trust, your relationship's out the window. So even if you have hard information to say, make sure you tell them 3 positives for every negative you tell them. Just like with kiddos, right? If you're going to tell them a negative, you want to replace that with 3 positives to build them back up. So, and then I have writing samples in here, and these are just my writing pages from different books, but you can see, and these are just sometimes I set these out for table time, and then sometimes if I see them writing during centers, I'll grab them. So this is what he did in August, and then now, here it is now. So he's got some letters in here, so he's scribbling with letters, so he moved to the next area of development, which is showing growth. Because to a parent, this may not seem like anything, but to me, this is great because I see letters. So you have to point out those things to parents, especially with the little guys, like with your 2s and with your 3s. You want to point out that their scribbles have meaning behind them, even though it doesn't look like it, right? So we're also teaching the parents at parent-teacher conferences. And then I do a math rubric, and I show them playing a game because I want parents to know that we learn through play. So I show them playing a game, but I show them what I assess during that game. And then I also show growth. So I have one from August, and then I have one from October. And all of these pages with the black bar at the top, they are in my assessment and portfolio pack. And then I have a shapes identification page, and then I have August, and then I have a current one. And then what I do during the year is I'll assess everything again in January. So then I'll add a January sample, and then I assess everything again around March, April. So I'll have a 4th one, so that way I can show growth all year. And if a child isn't growing, it's a great time to talk about that too. Like, oh, they're at the same spot they were when they started. That makes me a little worried. Like, how do you feel about that, Mom? Like, are you seeing growth, or do you think they're kind of staying the same? So it's a really good, using real work samples, showing them physical things that they can do, or the level they're at, gives parents a visual so they can see what you're talking about. Because when you're talking about scribbles and having letters in it like this, they have no idea what you mean. Especially if it's their first kiddo, they don't know that this is exciting because now they're scribbling with letters. They don't know that, so you gotta teach them that. And then I talk about patterns, and then I did some sorting, and I just used foam stickers, and at the end I stuck them on. And then I have a map sample we did from when we did community helpers. And then for fine motor, I take a picture. I take a picture of the child holding a pencil, because when you talk about pencil grasp and you have a visual to show the parent, then they'll understand, like, oh, I know what you mean. That, yeah, my child does hold that pencil like that, okay? I get it. right? So visuals help parents just as much as they help the kiddos at circle time, right? So, and then I put a picture at the end of the year so I can show growth. And then I do a name sample every 2 months or so. So here's one from August and now. So we have an A and a U and a kind of S, and then I think that might be a T. And then I do monthly self-portraits, and it has their name at the bottom. So then there's the October one. And then we draw shapes, and this was, we drew a pumpkin patch. And so we drew a shaped pumpkin patch. So I get super creative with my assessments, or at least I try most of the time. And then we do cut lines. That way I can show growth. And then we do shapes. And sometimes at the top, like here's how we cut his shapes in September or August. And then here it is now. So you can see that's huge growth. Like this, my little man is like rocking the scissor skills right now. And then I also put a note at the top that says he stopped cutting and turned the paper. So he put his scissors down and he had to turn the paper. So even though it looks like he cut his shapes awesome, he actually had to stop and readjust rather than doing the one continuous motion. This assessment pack that I've done, I've been using it for, like forever, like years and years and years. And I did a huge overhaul to it this summer based on your feedback and me using it as a teacher. And then I added in a couple more things like positional words and things that Common Core had in there. New York Common Core had a couple things in there too that I needed to add. So I added some more in. And you can use as much or as little as you want. That's what's great about that pack. And then I have science. We don't do a lot of science at the beginning of the year because we're learning all those routines, but in my block center, I have some STEM blueprint pages he did, and then we also did a STEM challenge, and I put that at the bottom. And then I explained to them their scribble, like, oh look, see the blocks around it, and then he drew the pumpkins in the middle. So even though he's my kiddo, I could have explained it to the parent like that. And then I have pictures, so in the Just for Fun section, I put pictures like Grandparents' Day and Muffins with Mom. And then I just put some art at the back. And I use these page protectors to put little things in, like this All About Me. And then I hole punch some of the art. And this was a balloon they did, and then a constellation. So yeah. So I hope that helps make your conferences easier. So remember, get yourself some food or some snacks, get yourself some drinks, make onion sandwiches. So give them specific positive feedback if you're gonna put some negative or put some struggles in the middle, and then always end the conference on a positive. Walk them out to the door, tell them, how much how much you love having your child in their classroom. So end on that positive note too. Even if it was a hard conference, even if you didn't agree with maybe what they have to say, if they were mean to you, if they insulted you, still end on that positive note, because if you told that mom or dad something that was tricky, or you told them something that a child is struggling and they're just on defense, they couldn't process all of the information. So just give them the benefit of the doubt, because they may come to school the next day and say, I am so sorry. Or it may take them a week, may take them a month. They may come back and be like, you know what, you're right. I see it at home. What can I do to help? So and I've had parent teacher conferences go wrong too. Don't take offense to it. It's their baby. They can't help but be upset if you're telling them their child is struggling. So especially if they struggled in school too, because this is kind of the first conference of many for years and years and years. And if this one starts off rough, they might be like, oh my God, I have 14 more years of conferences, especially if they're 3, 14 more years of struggle. Like, that doesn't sound fun. So always tell them so many positive things. Show them work samples. So when you're talking about something, you can show them, because the worst thing in the world is to be like, oh, they're struggling with this, and I don't have any work samples to show you. I don't have anything. I'm just talking. That's not helpful. And if you can't give them specific feedback, that's not helpful either. Like, oh, they're struggling in math. Like, how are they struggling in math? Are they struggling with patterns? Are they struggling with rote counting? Are they struggling with one-on-one correspondence? There's so much, some of these topics are so big. So break it down for them and say, you know what, she's really good at patterns, but we really need to work on that rote counting. So just give them some specific feedback. So you guys have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.